This week, we feature a wholly Japanese-owned company that jumpstarts our immersion into the global game development industry. This fast-growing company now employs hundreds of Filipino experts and is expected to provide even more job opportunities here.
The Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, together with the Board of Investments, recognizes the value of promoting the Philippines to become the leading game development hub and offshore destination in the Asia-Pacific region. The Philippines participated in the External Development Summit held in Canada and the annual trade show called the Global Game Exhibition in Busan, Korea. DTI also gives valuable support to the annual Philippine Game Festival. With DTI's thrust to pursue business development initiatives in game development services, that includes animation, programming, and support services, the agency gathered top Japanese game development companies to explore its potentials. One of these Japanese companies is KLAB Cyscorpions. BNL talked with the youthful Mr. Vince Huico, Executive Assistant to the President of KLAB Cyscorpions Philippines.
The core business of this company is creating applications and games for smartphones. Our headquarters is in Tokyo, Japan. That's KLAB Inc. KLAB Global is in Singapore. We also have offices in China and in the United States. The games and applications are created in the United States for the American market. Here in the Philippines, the games and apps that are created are for both the Chinese and Japanese markets. So, KLAB Japan sends it to us, and then we have our Filipino sound engineers and game developers to work on these applications and games. Then we send them back to Japan.
KLAB Cyscorpions is the Philippine arm of KLAB Incorporated, whose president and chief executive officer is Mr. Tetsuya Sanada. KLAB Cyscorpions Philippines is led here by its president, Mr. Tano Noguchi.
The company here is Japanese wholly owned.
The game development industry is a highly skilled one, but the Philippines does not lack the local talents to provide this. However, we still do not have adequate support to this growing industry. The entry of KLAB Cyscorpions is already a big boost to this industry. The company started in 2007 with as little as 20 employees. Now, less than 10 years later, KLAB Cyscorpions Philippines employs over 200 Filipino talents and has transferred to a bigger office in Makati to support their expansion.
The company grew gradually from 20 to over 200. That's about 500-fold type of growth. It had its, the company had its share of growing pains, just like any other company that was starting out. No company started out big. All the big ones started small. So the company was growing gradually. It was the games and the applications were outsourced here, and then we send them back to Japan. As business became busier, as business became better, the company had to hire more people, and there was enough income generated. As the company was growing, there was enough income generated to pay for example, the salaries and wages of the employees.
Our legislators have likewise seen the potentials of this industry. Senator Bam Aquino sees this as the new sunshine industry and was quoted as saying that where the game development industry is now where the call industry was 10 years ago.
I read somewhere, and I also heard from somewhere that the game development industry is the new sunrise industry after the BPO sector took off in the late 90s and early 2000s. We have the talent here. Our game developers and sound engineers can produce world-class animation, they can develop world-class games, and they can also engineer world-class sound for applications and games. Our Japanese management, first of all, they wouldn't be doing business here if they didn't see any talent in us Filipinos. They did business here because it was financially viable. Labor was at a reasonable price for them. Most of us Filipinos can speak basic English, and by speaking basic English, you can understand the Japanese already, because some of them can speak English, some of them can speak basic English. So there was no initial language barrier. The fact that they believe that there is talent, that they believe that it was financially viable to do business here and hire many Filipinos and give many of our countrymen employment opportunities was good enough already.
At present, the Philippines is getting its fair share of outsourced work. For KLAB Cyscorpions, the materials are sent here so our Filipino sound engineers can work on them before they are sent back to Japan. For now, the support services outsourced here is providing job opportunities to highly skilled Filipinos who otherwise would have to venture to foreign lands to pursue their careers. The global company is now well established, and the local arm is now doing well. It wasn't always like that though. Like many companies starting out, the Philippine arm of this global company went through penny pinching days. And Vince shares that the president-designate had to dig deep into his pockets to ensure that the company will run on track and without glitches or delays.
Well, Mr. Noguchi told me before what the situation was when he started. So we were guests in another program in another network, and he said that he had to spend some of his own finances to continually paying the employees, his people, and he also had to spend some of his wife's finances, which of course he had to ask for her permission first. And fortunately, she said yes, and in other words, he did what he had. He did what it took. He did what it had to be done in order to keep the company from going under at such a young, at its infancy. So that was just one of the many challenges he had to face.
Today, there are about 3,000 Filipino professionals working in the industry. They have carved out successful careers in developing applications and developing games for various platforms. These last 2 years have been banner years for this growing industry, according to the Game Developers Association of the Philippines. KLAB Cyscorpions makes itself more relevant by becoming a member of this organization as well as other related organizations.
We're a member of the Game Developers Association of the Philippines, and we're applying for membership in two of the business organizations here in the Philippines, which I will decline to name because we're processing. As we speak, it's being processed. So we're working on those just to add credibility to our organization.
The Philippine game development sector earned about $70 million from late 2011 to early 2012. Of this, only about 5% of the talent pool was working on console game services and 15% was in quality assurance, game design consulting, and game community support. The remaining 80% specialized in mobile and social games. Globally, China, Singapore, Malaysia, and Vietnam are our main competitors. Vietnam now has about 10,000 game developers, and the Philippines is aiming to reach that number in our talent pool. We need developers who are proficient in math and physics. KLAB Cyscorpions in the Philippines is working hard to propel the local apps and gaming industry.
Our mission vision is to be the number one game development and application development company in the country. We'll get there. We will get there. Our management is very confident that we will get there. They like the company's upside and the talent, the upside of the Filipino workforce here, and with a lot of hard work, because we're very aware that nothing comes easy, but with a lot of hard work, persistence, aggressiveness, relentlessness, we'll get there.
Game development is a $90 billion global industry, and the Philippines can only lay claim to 0.02% share of this market. This industry is growing fast here in the Philippines. When the umbrella organization Game Development Association of the Philippines started, they only had 3 or 4 members. Now there are already 22 companies, and KLAB Cyscorpion is one of them. Together with the rest of the sector, the company aims to score big in the global market so the Philippines can get a bigger share of this lucrative worldwide industry. As a footnote, providing the right technical support to the industry is vital. Several schools now teach 4-year courses in game development, and these include the University of the Philippines, the College of St. Benilde, and the Far Eastern University.
That was our feature this week on Corporate Profile. KLAB Cyscorpions.